Hello everybody, it's Mobius Y here with another video for Stellaris Console Edition. This video was also pre-recorded and simply uploaded to my YouTube. It was not done live off of my Twitch channel, so it was not streamed. This video is essentially going to be a copy of one that I did about a week ago, curtailing your first game. However, that one was without any DLC content. This one's going to be essentially the same thing, except I have all DLC enabled: Plantoids, Leviathans, and Utopia. So if you have those DLC downloaded and available, don't forget to activate them in the downloadable content section if you have not done so before. So this video is essentially going to be for first-time players to Stellaris Console Edition. If you have not seen the other video that I mentioned, check out my Stellaris Tips and Strategies playlist. You'll see it there. I recommend giving that one a watch, as well as I might cover something that gets missed in this particular video, as I am doing this unscripted, so I'm hoping not to gloss over or skip anything that I feel is important for first-time players. Also note that this video is essentially me plagiarizing a Stellaris PC YouTuber named Aspec. He's got a video not dissimilar to this one on his channel. I'll actually link that for you in the comments below. I suggest checking out that video as well, and numerous other things on his channel. He's got very helpful and informational stuff on it that can really help you learn a lot about the world of Stellaris, essentially. So, one thing to note before doing anything is that a lot of the navigation in the menus in Stellaris Console Edition, no matter if you're playing on Xbox or PS4, it's done with the D-pad as opposed to the sticks. The sticks are largely used for moving the camera around and changing the camera angle, but all of the menu navigation is done with the D-pad. So do keep that in mind, as it's also true for the main menu here. Before we get started, I also highly recommend going into your settings and adjusting things that cater to you specifically, namely inverting the Y-axis if you have to, and adjusting the safe area, as the safe area will resize the HUD. If you find that your HUD is just a little too small and you're having difficulty seeing it, or it's too big and it's outside the edges of your television screen, adjust the safe area accordingly so that you can see it. You can see everything that's going on your TV screen. I also recommend lowering both the effect and the ambient volume in the sound settings to a very low amount. Not muted, but very low, because there are certain sounds that get extremely loud and overpowering throughout the game. Namely, if you zoom in really close to planets or ships in the star system. And lastly, I am playing on Xbox, so keep that in mind if you're watching and play on PlayStation. If I say left or right trigger, I am referring to L2 or R2, respectively. If I say left or right bumper, I am referring to L1 or R1. And if I say click left or right stick, I'm referring to L3 or R3, respectively. The A button is X, the Y button is triangle, the B button is circle, and the X button is square. So with all that stuff out of the way, let's get set up for a game here. So when you load up Stellaris Console Edition and hit the new game option for the very first time, don't worry about picking a randomized empire or creating a new empire, because you don't necessarily want to worry about all the little things that the game will throw at you right away by trying to create your own empire. Simply select one of the pre-made empires in the game. Now, the only reason that my list looks very different from a newer player is that I have a lot of custom empires created, but when you first go into it yourself, the very top empire that you can select should be the United Nations of Earth. Underneath that will be the Commonwealth of Man, and underneath that the Zin Empire, and so on and so forth, until you get to the very bottom, which will be the Blorg Commonality. This should be the list of pre-selected empires available to you. For simplicity's sake, stick with the United Nations of Earth. It's a very straightforward and easy pre-selected empire to play, and it's a very fantastic empire to choose when you are trying to learn the game. So after selecting the empire, you can also choose things like game settings, namely how big of a galaxy do you want to play on, and the shape of the galaxy. To kind of ease things for you, I suggest a large 600-star galaxy, and then go with either a 2-arm or 4-arm spiral galaxy. To get used to the shape of those kind of galaxies. AI empires, set these to fairly low, maybe just 5 or 6. Advanced AI starts, turn that down to 0. This does not give any AI empires a bonus at the start of the game. And for max fallen empires, just so that you can experience what they are the first time you play the game, have those either to 1, maybe 2 if you're feeling adventurous, but I highly recommend keep it set to 1. For Habitable Worlds, this is a modifier that adjusts how many colonizable planets will appear in the galaxy when it is procedurally generated. So crank this modifier up about 3 times. That's being very generous. You can put it higher if you want to make more colonizable worlds available throughout the galaxy to kind of ease things for you. AI aggressiveness, keep that to low. Keep the difficulty on normal. Empire placement, change that to random so that all the AI empires will be spread out throughout the galaxy. Advanced neighbors, obviously keep that off. Endgame crises, if you would like to experience the galactic threat that is the endgame crises, feel free to turn this on if you want to experience it. I do recommend leaving it off though, because this gives you a near unlimited amount of time to get used to what you're looking for and how to do certain things as you play in your first game. And Iron Man mode, this is entirely personal preference. Having this on will make it eligible for achievements and trophies. Having it off allows you to save the game at multiple stages throughout the game. The reason why Iron Man mode is the only way you can get achievements is because there's only one save file that overwrites itself every in-game month and every time you save and quit the game. So you can't do things like save scum. If you feel like you made a mistake, you can't go back to an earlier save and redo something that you might have done several in-game years ago. So I'm going to do it off for the sake of this particular video. As I said, set that however you like. There are some very easy achievements to get in your first playthrough, so you can play with it on and get used to using the Iron Man mode. So with your settings ready to go, simply hit the A or X button to hit play, and it'll ask you, are you sure you want to start? Hit OK, and it will start procedurally generating the galaxy. So a couple differences between this video and the previous one is I'm going to briefly go over things like Ascension Perks that are showcased in the Utopia expansion, and maybe touch on megastructures just a little bit. And for the Leviathans DLC, I'm hoping we run into an enclave, either the Curators or the Artisan Troop, and what those are you'll discover at a future time. So the very opening screen here is just a box with some flavor text on the right. This will happen at the beginning of every game. Simply hit A to continue. So by using your left and right trigger, you can zoom your camera in and out, and as I said, use the right stick to change the camera angle and the left stick to move the camera around. And as we move the camera around, you see that cursor in the middle will actually still highlight things as you get close to them. That cursor is how you pick certain things that you want to look at. For example, if you want to look at the planet Venus, move the cursor near or on it and press the A button. Same thing with selecting your ships. Down here we can select our military ships, our first fleet. We have 3 little military ships there. We can pick those. So that's how you largely deal with the camera. And the menu itself, there are 4 sections in the menu, and to access those 4 sections, you press the corresponding button on the D-pad. So by pressing down on the D-pad at the bottom here is kind of the notification banner. Events and alerts will pop up here. For example, if you've finished construction of a building, if you have finished construction of ships, if you've completed a research project, etc., etc. Those will pop up down at the bottom here, so pay attention to that as you go. And just to the left of those notifications, you'll see in that little orange banner there, that is actually the current time, and it showcases whether or not the game is paused. If the banner is orange, the game is paused. When it's green, the game is clearly continuing and time is progressing as normal. You'll notice that number 2200-0101 means it is currently the year 2200, it is the first month, and it is the first day. Every game starts at this time period, the first day of the first year, the first day of the first month of the year 2200. And that is how time progresses. The days essentially measure how long it takes to do things, such as constructing a building or a ship. And every month, which is 30 days, that is when your empire pools its resources together and adds them to your total value. And as the years go by, time will progress, and certain things will happen throughout the game as the years drag on. So that's essentially down with the D-pad. Now you can press up on the D-pad to get an overview of your empire's available resources. Your resources kind of go from left to right. Starting in the top left here, this yellow icon is energy credits, and the 100 number denotes how many energy credits you have stored, and the +4 means how many energy credits you are generating each month. So as I said at the very beginning of each month, you stockpile all your resources and add them to your storage. So after 1 month passes, right now we will essentially get another 4 energy credits, and we will have a total of 104 stored energy credits. Energy credits are one of the most important pieces of resource to pay attention to in the game. The one right after that, the red gem icon, that is minerals. Currently we have 200 stored, and we're earning 8 every month. That is what the 200 plus 8 means. Minerals are used for constructing things like buildings, spaceships, orbital stations, and they're also used in the construction of megastructures as well. After that, we have a little green apple. That is food. As your empire grows, you colonize more planets, and you have more populations that grow on those planets and colonies. You will need to be generating more food to keep all your pops fed throughout your empire. Otherwise, if they start starving, bad things happen. This purple icon is influence. This is a very special resource that essentially is used for doing things like expanding. It costs influence to colonize a new planet, to expand your borders with something called a frontier outpost, etc., etc. Influence is very important. You'll want to pay attention to it very regularly. And next up we have this very light blue icon. This is Unity. Unity is used to unlock these special bonuses called traditions. And we'll get to traditions a little bit later. And the next 3 icons, we have the blue atom, which is physics research, the green planet is society research, and the yellow gear is engineering research. These are the 3 branches of science. In Stellaris, there are, in fact, 3 types of science to go down, as opposed to a single tech tree. And each branch of science has its own individual tech tree. Now, you earn these points of science at differing rates, so you could be unlocking physics research faster than you're unlocking society research if you are generating more points of that particular science. These last 3 icons, directly controlled colonized systems, strategic resources, and naval capacity. Those are things that you will learn through a single playthrough as time goes on. And I'll probably cover them in a future video as a kind of helpful thing to newcomers. Now, the 2 most important parts of the HUD, the first one is to the right, so by pressing right on the D-pad, it takes you to your outliner. This is essentially an overview of your empire. It will show you what planets you have under your control, the military fleets available to you, and the civilian ships within your empire. So obviously our only planet that we have is Earth. By selecting it in the outliner and pressing A, it will take you to the planet overview. By moving your cursor over your military fleets, you'll select them, and by moving your cursor over civilian ships, you will select those as well. It will also show other things like rally points, factions later, as you'll get them later on, etc., etc. And at the very bottom will be the outliner option to hide the outliner. So this will cause the outliner to disappear whenever you do not have your cursor in the outliner itself. So as you can see, once we back out of the outliner, it disappears, but I hit right on the D-pad again, it'll come back up. It's up to you whether you want to hide this or have it visible at all times. I personally play with it visible at all times. Like I said, though, it's up to you. And then the other very important side is when you hit left on the D-pad, there's several panels here that are very important to managing your empire. The very first one is a government overview. This essentially goes over what kind of government you have. As you can see in the bottom left, we are a democratic government. We have certain governing ethics, fanatic, egalitarian, and xenophile. If you hit the left or right bumpers, you go to different panels in any of these screens. So hitting right bumper once takes us to our budget. This is a breakdown of how many energy credits we are earning per month, as well as what is costing us energy credits per month. You hit right bumper again, and it takes a look at your demographics later on in the game. When you get other species in your empire, it'll break down the percentages of the species within your empire that makes up your population. So the government screen, not one you really want to worry about too much on your first playthrough. The contact screen, this will be something you become more familiar with as time goes on. As we encounter new alien civilizations, new alien spacefaring civilizations, they will be made available in our contacts, and you open up this screen to communicate with them. Simply open up the contact screen, move the orange cursor over the particular empire you want to communicate with, and press the A or X button. Next one down is the situation log. This is kind of like a quest log, as it's often called in other games. This gives you a list of, missions that you can complete for various rewards. They could be numerous things from unearthing precursor civilizations to scanning new anomalies to defeating certain enemies, or various other things. Take a look at it. It will be a very useful guide in telling you, giving you an idea of things that you can do next. The other tab in the situation log is the victory screen. It essentially shows you how much progress you've made towards one of the 3 victory conditions. You can largely ignore it for your first playthrough. The situation log, and the contacts, you probably won't use them too much in your first playthrough, because the next one down with the 3 flasks icon, this is one of the most important ones to go over in your first playthrough. This is the technology screen. When you open it up, the first screen you look at is your current research. As you can see, we have in the physics, society, and engineering branch, we have no research selected, so that'll be the next thing we do in just a minute here. If you also hit right bumper, it'll show you the completed technologies that you have researched. All of these are currently our starting texts. And if you hit right bumper again, it'll give you an overview of the strategic resources you're using in your empire. You'll learn about that at a later time. So when you're in this screen, the 2 important things that you do while you are in the current research screen is you assign a scientist to that particular branch of research, and you select a new technology. So we're going to select a new technology first, and we have to do it for all 3 branches. So at the top, starting with physics, we're going to select our research option here. We have orbital energy conversion, which gives us a solar panel network for our spaceport. We have quantum theory, which unlocks a building, a physics lab, and we have databank uplinks, which unlocks an assist research feature. Buildings aren't really something you want to go for super early, and assist research isn't something that is terribly useful to us right now. So let's go with orbital energy conversion. This is a very good first pick. Let's take a look at our society research. Move the cursor down. We have centralized command to reduce our army upkeep and give us the military academy building, and biodiversity studies, which gives us the biolab 1 building. Again, these are options that give us buildings. Don't really care about those. Planetary Unification will increase the monthly influence we generate by +1. This is very useful and a very good first pick for your initial society research project. Lastly, down in engineering, we're going to select research here. We have nanocomposite materials, which unlocks an armor component for our ships. We have nanomechanics, which unlocks the engineering facility building. Again, we don't really want to go for it because it's a building. And last, we have powered exoskeletons, which increases our army damage by 5% and the amount of minerals we generate by 5% on buildings. So nanocomposite materials, we don't really need that one just yet at the very beginning of the game. And again, this is a building under nanomechanics, so we're going to take powered exoskeletons. This is a very good first pick. So when you pick these, you'll notice 2 things. They essentially have a number in the top right of the little technology card. These all currently say 0 out of 360, and underneath that it says how much time is remaining to the completion of that particular technology. So those numbers where it says 0 out of 360, the first one is progress. We have 0 progress towards all of the 3 of these technologies, and each of them costs 360 points of science in their respective field. So if you recall, at the top of the HUD there, where it shows how much physics, society, and engineering research we're generating, we need to generate that many points of those particular branches of science in order to complete these projects. And thankfully, the game automatically calculates that for you and tells you how many in-game months are remaining before that technology is completed. Obviously, the time remaining will be a lot smaller as you construct more buildings and orbital research stations to increase the amount of science you're generating throughout the game. And as time goes on, when a month elapses, you'll see the the science points you're generating will be tallied onto that number 0. It will be tallied onto your progress, and you'll see that number go up over time. So that's the technology screen. The next one down is Cosmography. This, excuse me, this gives an overview of your currently controlled planets. It also the next tab over is sectors, and the next tab over is your expansion planner. You can largely ignore this, the Cosmography screen, in your first playthrough. Really not important. The next one down, however, with the 2 differently colored faces, Society. This one is extremely important because you do one of the most important things in the game, and when you open it up, it takes you to your traditions screen. I mentioned these earlier. These are earned with the resource called Unity that I mentioned earlier. You can see it just at the very top there. It says 30 months. That's how long it will take before you can unlock your next tradition. And traditions are bonuses that you get that stay with you throughout the whole game, and eventually in a very long playthrough you will unlock all of them over time. So each tradition kind of focuses on a specific kind of bonuses. For example, Harmony improves things like happiness and productivity within your empire. Prosperity increases, for example, things like your build speed and reducing the cost of maintaining things. Discovery is focused on things like exploration, obviously, etc., etc., etc. And with the Utopia expansion, traditions are doubly important because they are how you unlock Ascension Perks. How traditions work is they have 6 stages. The first stage, let's hit the A button on the Discovery tree. The first stage is you have to adopt that particular tradition, and adopting a tradition tree still gives you a certain kind of bonus. For example, adopting the Discovery tree reduces the cost of our research stations. So they're 33% cheaper. And then after that, we are free to adopt the following 5 traditions in the Discovery tree in progressive order. So the bottom row, you have to go from left to right, as you can see denoted by the arrows. So you have to get the option on the left before you can get the options on the right. And upon completing all 5 of these options in the Discovery tree, you will get the finisher bonus from completing the Discovery tree, which is it increases our research speed by 10%. As you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, it says Discovery, Adoption Effect, Research Station Build Cost reduced by 33%, and Finisher Effect increases our research speed by 10%. And by completing a full tree of traditions, that unlocks the ability to unlock an Ascension perk as well. And there's a lot of options for Ascension perks. There's a total of 20. You can't see them all right now because one is only available to a specific type of empire. So by completing the Discovery traditions, our research speed will be increased by 10%, and we'll be able to unlock our first Ascension perk. I highly recommend taking Technological Ascendancy for your first Ascension perk. It also increases your research speed by plus 10%, and it has no prerequisites. Some of these Ascension perks require certain technologies to be unlocked. For example, the Flesh is Weak requires the droids technology, and some Ascension perks have a requirement of not being the first Ascension perk you grab. For example, Galactic Force Projection has no requirements for any kind of technologies, but it does require 2 other Ascension perks to be selected first. So at the earliest, it can be your 3rd Ascension perk. So keep that in mind. There's some Ascension perks that you can pick really early. They can be your very first Ascension perk, for example, Technological Ascendancy, or they can be no sooner than your 4th Ascension perk. For example, Galactic Wonders requires 3 other Ascension perks to be selected first, and has a technology requirement as well. So do keep that in mind. The next screen down after Society is People. This one's fairly important as well because the first screen is where you look at your leaders. It gives you an overview of the leaders you have recruited. There's 4 types: governors, scientists, admirals, and generals. Governors are the people who are ruling planets, essentially. Scientists are the people who are leading your research projects and are manning science ships which go out and explore the galaxy. Your scientists are going to be your most important leaders in your first playthrough. Admirals are fairly important as well. You attach them to military fleets, and they can give your military fleets certain bonuses, for example, higher rates of fire, or just increased sensor range, so on and so forth. And generals are easily the least important leaders in the entire game. You attach them to armies, and it gives your armies certain bonuses. But in your first playthrough, I would suggest never bothering getting any generals unless you really want to. The other things you can look at in the people screen, you have your factions. Right now we have none. These will appear later on. And you, of course, you have your species. I recommend not worrying about the factions or species tabs whatsoever. The leaders tab, however, is quite important. The next several screens are largely unimportant aside from the last one. Ship designer, this is where you design your ships with new technologies that you unlock. Say you unlock things like shields or different kinds of weapons and you want to equip them on your ships, you would do that in the ship designer. I wouldn't worry about it until later on in your first playthrough. The next two after that is the War and Federation screens. Those are only applicable when you are A, at war, or B, in a Federation, so I wouldn't worry about them whatsoever in your first playthrough. And lastly, you have map modes. These essentially just tailor what the galaxy map looks like to you. So that should cover everything on the left side of the screen. Let's unpause the game. Now, as you can see in the bottom left, you can also hold the Y button or triangle to adjust the speed that the game is going. To try and speed this video up, I'm going to have it going at max speed at all times. Now, normally we haven't done anything to warrant us unpausing the game just yet. Before you start the game, once you have your technologies picked, which we have, there's one more thing you want to do. You want to open up the planet screen by going to the right on the outliner and pressing the A button. Now, you are looking at what is the surface of the planet Earth. And on the left side, where you can see my orange cursor moving around, you'll see a little grid pattern of several what are called tiles. And these tiles denote what kind of resources are being produced on your planet. You can see most of these tiles already have a person on them, which is a population, or pop for short, and most of those pops have a building behind them. Each kind of building generates a certain kind of resource. For example, hydroponics farms generate food, mining networks will generate minerals, power plants will generate energy, and science labs, in this case a basic science lab, will produce points towards science. So you can also see there's two empty tiles, or at least one empty tile, I should say. There's this one in the bottom right, and there's this one up here. This semi-translucent pop is still growing. Until this pop is fully grown, they will not be producing any resources on this tile. So before they get fully grown, you can construct whichever building you want them to be on. And that is determined by moving your cursor over an empty tile that does not have a building and pressing the A button, and that will change to moving the orange cursor in the middle of the panel, and you have the option to build something. So the very first thing you want to build on your planet is this thing at the very top here, an autochthon monument. This thing generates additional unity to help you unlock those traditions more quickly. So we're going to build an autochthon monument in this bottom right tile. And whenever you're constructing a building on a tile that generates a particular resource, it warns you that by constructing this building here, it will actually eliminate the tile's natural generation of a particular type of resource. So in this case, I will lose that one energy credit that the tile is generating, and that's fine. So you hit OK to continue. Contact report, blah, blah, blah. Let's get past that. We've encountered an alien species already. Oh my gosh, bunch of stuff happening. Okay, let's skip past all that. Largely going to be ignoring a lot of the alerts that pop up. So as you can see here, as the days go by, the autochthon monument is continuing its construction. You can see the orange progress bar at the bottom of the tile denotes its overall progress, and the time in days is represented when you move your cursor over that particular tile. Now, we need to move this particular pop onto that tile, otherwise this building, when it's constructed, will not be generating anything, and we will have created a useless building. So to move a pop, you simply move your orange cursor over them, press the X button or square on PS4, and that essentially picks that pop up, and then you move it down to the tile you want to put it on, press the X button again, and you will have dropped them onto the tile you wish to move them to. So once this building is finished construction, and once that pop has finished growing, which will take some time, they will start generating resources off of that tile, off of that building. So let's quit back out here. So one more thing. Let's continue that. One more thing to definitely too is you need to take your science ship and survey your home system. So with your science ship selected, move the cursor over the star of Sol, press the A button, and the list of orders will appear. If the only option was to enter orbit, then it would simply move over there automatically and enter orbit. However, since we can either survey the star or survey the system, we want to pick one of those. So hit survey system, and you'll see all these orange lines appear denoting the order that your science ship will fly to each stellar body, every planet, every asteroid available in that system. It's essentially going to scan them and reveal resources that we can get from those planets. So let's let that science ship go about its business. Another thing we can do is we can take our military fleet, our first fleet. It's only comprised of 3 ships called corvettes. If we hit this split fleet option by hitting right bumper to the Manage tab, hit split fleet, it's the one with the yellow dotted line in the middle there, and you'll see on the right we now have the second and the third fleet under the military fleets tab in the outliner. Hit the B button to deselect the first fleet, and we're okay there. Before sending them off into space to scout things, we want to select them again, hit right bumper, go to the Manage tab, and if we want them to try and avoid conflict, we want to set them to Fleet Stance Evasive. It's in the second column in the middle row. You can set what is called the Fleet Stance. Passive, they will not actively engage enemies until they come in range. With aggressive fleet stance, they will actively attack any hostiles in the same system as them. And at evasive, if they encounter hostiles, they will automatically try to escape that star system. So we're going to set all 3 of our fleets, of our little ships, to evasive, and we're going to send them out into the void in just a moment. Before we send our military ships, we're going to select our planet Earth yet again, hit right bumper to check out the spaceport that is orbiting the planet Earth. This is where you build new ships and also construct spaceport modules. So on the left side of the screen is the list of ships. Is the list of ships available to you. This list will get longer as you unlock more ships, namely destroyers, battleships, etc. And to simply build one, you move your orange cursor over that particular ship, press the A button, and you'll see in the middle it will have queued a ship for construction. You can cancel that by moving your cursor over it and pressing A again, and you do get refunded the resources, namely the minerals, that it cost initially to build it. But we do want a second science ship, so let's build one. Okay, so now, by jumping to the galaxy view through clicking the right stick, we can see where we are in the galaxy. We can see how far our borders extend, and we will have an easier time ordering our ships about. So we want to move to the outliner again by pressing right on the D-pad, select the first fleet, move the cursor over a star system a little ways away, and press the A button. This will move that particular ship to that star system as denoted by the bright blue lines. Let's take the second fleet, send them in a different direction, for example over here, and the third fleet, we'll take them and send them down this way. So we've got our 3 military ships out and about scouting, and we've also completed construction of our second science ship. So for a science ship to function, namely to survey planets and whatnot, to scan planets, it needs a scientist in it. So to recruit a new scientist, you can do it one of 2 ways. The most straightforward way is to select the science ship in question and then press right bumper by going to the Manage tab and pick this Recruit Leader option. It's got the little blue people with the big orange plus icon. By picking Recruit Leader, we are taken back to the leader list, except it only shows a list of our scientists. Oops, we just lost a fleet, no big deal. So we can either assign one of these other scientists we already have into this science ship, or we can recruit a new one. So when you hit recruit new leader, it shows a list of available scientists that you can recruit. And recruiting leaders, not just scientists, recruiting leaders of all kinds costs influence, which, as I said earlier, is also a requirement for expanding your empire as well. And that's why you don't want to run a deficit of your influence. So we have two options with an expertise in certain research projects. We're going to take this one with the roamer option because the roamer trait increases their survey speed. And then once you have them recruited, it will say that they are available. Simply select them again with your cursor, press the A button, and as you can see, our scientist is now in our new science ship. So we're going to go back to the galaxy view and then move our second science ship to Barnard Star to survey that system. So simply with the science ship selected from your outliner, move your cursor over Barnard Star, press the A button, and you'll see again the orders are move here or survey system. Hit survey system, and you'll see them start to move towards Barnard Star. Now, after they're done in Barnard Star, we want them to go to Alpha Centauri. You can actually chain orders by pressing the X button or the square button on PS4. This will queue up multiple orders for various fleets, various ships to complete in the order that they are given. So to chain surveying Alpha Centauri, I simply have to move my cursor over Alpha Centauri, press the X button, and select Survey System again. And now you can see that another orange line was made to Alpha Centauri. That way we know our science ship will fly to Alpha Centauri afterwards and survey that system. So we're going to get our first science ship to survey a few neighboring systems again. So first off, let's send them over to this system here and press the A button, Survey System, and then we're going to queue up a few more. Let's have them go to the Howling Vortex after that. So move the cursor over that, press X, Survey System, and then we'll have them go to this unknown star over here, press X, hit Survey System, and we've queued up several systems for them to go and survey. Okay, so with that underway, looks like the survey of our home system of Sol is finished, and we've uncovered a couple anomalies, which we didn't research, but we've also uncovered that Saturn has a resource available on it. And in order to make use of that, we need our construction ship, which is another type of civilian ship, to construct an orbital station around it. To select our construction ship, go to the outliner, pick the construction ship, and we move our cursor over Saturn while we still have the construction ship selected. Press the A button, and you're given the option to build a mining station. Mining stations are used to extract things like energy credits and minerals from various planets and whatnot that you encounter while your science ships are surveying. So Saturn here, with that little number beneath it, the number 2, and the yellow energy credit symbol, by building an orbital station, we will be generating an additional 2 energy credits per month. Oh, we've established communications with the Artisan Troop. Okay, so press the A button, build mining station. You'll see our construction ship is now queued up in order to move over to Saturn, and you'll see this faint green outline of an orbital station. Once it is finished completion, we will be generating an additional 2 energy credits per month, and you'll see the number in the very top left denoting our energy credits will change from +2 to +4. Now, the other things that our science ship encountered are anomalies, and these are very, very special things that for your science ships to uncover. Anomalies have a certain level to them, and that denotes their failure risk. Anomalies being failed can result in either nothing happening, or it could result in a catastrophic failure where, for example, your science ship explodes and the scientist dies with it. So I highly recommend leaving anomalies be for the most part until the failure risk is either down to 10 or 20%, whatever you're comfortable with. Anomalies are very useful. Completed anomalies can net you bonus resources or uncover special things about certain planets that are very useful. So the failure risk is denoted by, as I said, the anomaly level, and the anomaly level directly counteracts the level of our scientists. If we back out and go to our people screen where we look at our leaders, you'll see that there is a little yellow star next to most of our leaders. However, we have one that has 2 yellow stars. Most of our leaders are level 1, But this particular leader, Maria Carpenter, she is actually level 2. So as our leaders do things, for example, our governors have buildings constructed on their planets, our scientists survey systems and research new technologies, they will in fact level up. And higher level leaders give you better bonuses. In this case, higher level scientists can research higher level anomalies with a lower failure risk. So we're going to wait for our scientists to level up a bit before we do most of these anomalies. Once that failure risk is down, we can send our scientists back to research those particular anomalies and hopefully get the bonuses that they will give us. So at the bottom here, we have a few alerts that have just popped up. This one here, we finished a society technology earlier. We finished Planetary Unification, and we need to select a new project. So this will automatically appear every time you finish a research project and you hear the announcer say research complete. By hitting the alert, it will take you to this screen where you can automatically pick a new research project. Eco Simulation gives us a building, a higher grade hydroponics farm, not a big deal. Doctrine Space Combat to increase our naval capacity, not a big deal. Adaptive Bureaucracy, not totally useful right now, but it's still a good pick at this point. So we'll just pick that one, and you can see it's completed in 34 months. Another thing that has happened is we have actually generated enough unity to adopt our first tradition. So as I said earlier, a very safe pick to go with is first adopting the discovery traditions. So by opening it up, move the orange cursor over the adopt option, press the A button, and it's going to ask, are we sure we wish to adopt the discovery traditions? It tells you how much unity it's going to cost. Simply hit the OK button and you will have them adopted. Now when we go back to the traditions screen, you'll see that the discovery traditions no longer have the grayed out padlock icon. In fact, they now have a little teal banner with the number 0 out of 5. That is simply denoting we have 0 out of the 5 discovery traditions completed. As we unlock more of these traditions, like for example To Boldly Go, Planetary Survey Course, or Science Division, you'll see that it will say 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5, so on and so forth. And when the discovery traditions are completed, it will say 5 of 5, and you will be able to pick your first Ascension perk. We're going to get a new tradition in 2 months already, so we've completed some more technologies. We've completed our physics research. So we've got a couple options here. Gravitics sensors for enhanced sensors for our ships. Not a big deal. Fusion power, not a bad pick. Field modulation for power plant 2 buildings. We don't necessarily want that this early in the game. We're going to go with fusion power. And the other option, oops, sorry, it shouldn't have backed out of the screen. Under engineering, we have geothermal fracking for a building unlock, a mining network 2. We have fusion missiles for better weapons for our ships. Don't need that right away. We have the improved spaceport. This is a useful pick to upgrade our spaceports. So let's go with that one. And as you can see, we already have another tradition available yet again. So we're going to adopt one of the discovery traditions, and we're going to adopt the To Boldly Go. This reduces the anomaly fail risk by 10% and increases the chance of our scientists discovering anomalies by 15%. So we're going to pick this one. This will help us research the anomalies that we skipped over in the Sol system already. So let's select one of our science ships, which is out and about. So we're going to pick this one, the UNS Drake. And since the Sol system still has anomalies in it, we can simply use the galaxy map screen to select the science ship, move the cursor over it, press the A button, and you'll see there are the two anomaly options here. We have this one, which is a 10% failure risk, and we have this one, which is a 30% failure risk. We're going to pick the 10% failure risk one because we want that one to be completed. And as you can see, our science ship will fly back to the system and begin that particular project. So already getting on about 45 minutes in this particular video. One more thing to do before we end it here. In Alpha Centauri, you can see there's this little green kind of planet symbol to the left of the particular star itself. There's the blue anomaly icon to the left of that, and at the bottom of it, it denotes how many points of particular resources you can get in that system by building certain orbital stations. So if we take a look at the system, we have Alpha Centauri 4, which is generating 3 energy credits for us. We have Alpha Centauri 2, which is generating 1 credit, 1 energy credit, and 1 mineral. And we have over here Alpha Centauri 1A, 1 point in society research, and Alpha Centauri 1, 4 points in minerals. Let's get our construction ship to fly over here, build a station around Alpha Centauri 4. So we're going to move the cursor over the planet, press the A button to build a mining station, then move the cursor over Alpha Centauri 1, press the X button to chain a command, and select Build Mining Station, because we want to make use of these 4 minerals that it's generating every month. Now the other thing is, this green planet icon means that this is a habitable world that we can in fact colonize. You can only colonize systems, or sorry, you can only colonize planets that have a certain level of habitability. To check out how much habitability it has, you select the planet and hit left bumper to leave the surface screen, and this is the planet overview. It shows you how much influence it will cost to colonize it, in this case 30 points of influence since it's within our borders. It's a continental world. It has 90% habitability, and this number here, the planet size of 14, denotes how many tiles the planet has. That is essentially how many buildings and populations you can put on the planet. So if you actually move your cursor around and count it, there are in fact approximately 14 tiles. So there are 2 ways that we can go about colonizing this planet. We can select this option here by hitting colonize, and then we choose which spaceport to colonize from. And I feel that this is the easier way to do it. The other way we can do it, if we back out of this screen here, let's take our cursor back to our planet Earth and open up the planet screen, hit right bumper to go to the spaceport. The most straightforward and simplest way to do this would be to simply queue a colony ship at this particular spaceport, and then when the colony ship is done, we select the colony ship and order that colony ship to the planet in question, in this case Alpha Centauri 2, and tell it to colonize it. But I feel there's a much easier way to do it by simply going to the planet you want to colonize and going and ordering a colonization effort off of this planet screen. The reason why I feel this is easier is because new players often get a little lost in the galaxy. They can lose track of the name of the planet they wanted to find. They can lose track of which star system it's in and have difficulty finding it again. So I feel it's a lot easier if you simply order the colonization off of the planet in question. So what we do is we pick the spaceport that's going to build the colony ship for 350 minerals. A pretty hefty price, but it's worth it. And we hit the A button, and now we select where the capital building goes. Ideally, we want to try and pick a tile with some energy credits on it already, because the capital building is like a power plant and produces energy, but we could also put it on any of these empty tiles. We can't put it on any of these tiles here with the funky red and black outlines, because those are a tile blocker. Until we clear those tile blockers, we cannot construct a building on those tiles or grow a population on them. So let's put it on this tile here, and we are able to name our colony before the colony ship will start being built. So we're going to name it Hi YouTube.
Construction complete.
Then hit OK, and not only have we queued up our spaceport back on Earth to build a colony ship, but as soon as that colony ship is done, it will in fact fly right over to the Alpha Centauri system and begin colonizing this planet that we want to put under our control. Now, I mentioned tile blockers a moment ago. Tile blockers are something you'll want to clear off of not just new colonies, but even your home planet. If we look at Earth here, there's several tile blockers on our home planet of Earth as well, but we can still clear these. The tile blockers on the new colony had a red and black border. These ones have a yellow and black border. That means that we can clear them so that we can open up this tile and make it available for us to construct a building. So to clear the tile blocker, it's not unlike constructing a building. Move your cursor over the particular tile blocker in question, press the A button, and your cursor will jump to the middle of the screen where you can hit the clear option. Of course, before you select it, it will show you the cost in energy credits and minerals and the time in days it will take to clear that particular tile blocker. So if we hit clear, we'll see that the timer starts counting down how long it takes to complete that. One more thing before we continue, we're also going to queue up building another power plant. So we move the cursor over to this empty tile, press the A button, and the list of buildings available for us to construct on this tile will show up here. This tile is already producing energy credits, so let's build another power plant to increase the amount of energy credits being generated. Now you can see that this tile has a big white number 1 on it. That means that that construction project is now queued. Each planet can only have one construction project on it at a time, whether it's constructing a building or clearing a tile blocker. But as soon as this tile blocker is done, you'll see that this power plant will begin construction. And you can see that the timer is counting down for that before that power plant is completed. Once the power plant has finished construction and that pop is fully grown, we will be generating more energy credits. So we're going to back out. Okay, at the bottom of the screen you can see we have another tradition available. We're going to go to the discovery tree again. And now that we have picked To Boldly Go in the top left, we can pick the one just to the right of it, Planetary Survey Corps. This earns you extra research points while your science ships are surveying planets. This is a very powerful pick and will help increase the rate at which you generate research points and unlock new technologies. So we're just going to wait for the spaceport on Earth to finish this colony ship, which is done in less than 30 days. And you'll see that when it is built, we're actually going to go into the negative on our energy credit production. Pay attention to the top left of the screen where it shows our energy credits and the generation of energy credits. As you can see there, our monthly gain is now negative 0.25. As I said earlier, energy credits are something that you use to buy things, but they're also used for the maintenance of your ships and your buildings. And other things like robots once you unlock those. It's okay to run in the negative on energy credits now and then, so long as it's not going to be for such a long time that you actually run out of energy credits. In this case, we're only going to be losing energy credits for the period that this colony ship is colonizing our new planet in Alpha Centauri. So it's not going to be for a terribly long time. In fact, we're actually gaining energy credits again because the power plant that we queued on the planet of Earth has completed production and is now generating 5 energy credits for us. So compensating for that colony ship costing so many energy credits every month, we have done the necessary steps to get us out of the negative. And the same can be said for minerals. Let's take our construction ship, build a mining station over here on Barnard Star 4, get those additional energy credits. The same thing can be said for minerals. Not a lot of things require minerals for maintenance, but your ships do, namely your military ships. As you build a big military fleet, you might find yourself not generating as many minerals. But for the most part, your energy credits and your minerals, the amount you're producing every month, those numbers should be going up constantly as you play more and more of the game. As your empire expands, it becomes more productive, you build more mining networks, you build more stations around planets, so on and so forth. So the first human colony, our colony ship has gently touched down at the mouth of a large a large river delta on one of the several continents that can be found on high YouTube. This temperate forested region will serve as an ideal first landing site. A great day for the United Nations of Earth. And that is essentially how you expand your empire. This colony will continue to develop. If we move our cursor over the high YouTube planet, it will give us a progress bar. The process costs 8 energy credits each month and will take approximately 24 months, which will be completed in the year 2210, the first day of the 7th month. So a couple years from now of in-game time before it has completed. And once it is finished colonizing, this building will be generating additional energy for us. You'll be able to construct new buildings on the planet, and you will have to grow new pops on it in order to make use of those buildings. Keep in mind that Stellaris Console Edition, there is a fair bit of waiting around in certain parts of the game. Sometimes you're just waiting for a new technology to finish. For example, waiting for 37 months of in-game time for fusion power to finish. Sometimes you're waiting around for things like minerals or energy credits to build up before you can afford to construct that new building or clear that tile blocker or construct that new battleship that you just designed. There is a fair amount of that, and I feel personally that that's kind of part of the appeal of Stellaris Console Edition for me, because it gives you time to go grab a snack or go take care of something important like throw some laundry and then wash. There are periods where the game will be at a much faster pace, but you'll find that there are definitely times where the game slows down and you are able to grab a breather. I understand it's not for everybody, but I mean, it is a strategy game, and that is one of the, I suppose, downsides of the game in particular. So one last look at the galaxy before we move away. This was the largest galaxy size available for Stellaris Console Edition, and there are many other wonders out there to be explored. What happens next to the United Nations of Earth is entirely up to you. I'm going to actually quit the game at this point. Hopefully this gave you an idea of how you would like to start out your first game with all DLC enabled. As I said, big things to watch out for. How to pick new research projects and unlock new technologies, how to unlock traditions, which will give you access to your Ascension Perks. As I said, I highly recommend starting with Discovery and finishing that, and then for your first Ascension Perk with Discovery finished, pick the Technological Ascendancy Ascension Perk. It's a very safe, very useful Ascension Perk in any playthrough. Another important screen, the People screen. This is where you get an overview of your leaders that you have in your empire, and it is a useful way is essentially how you recruit new leaders. So yeah, I think that'll sum it up for this video. I do believe I covered everything I want to. How to construct orbital stations, how to survey systems with your science ships, how to colonize new worlds. That'll largely sum it up. If you found this video helpful, please let me know in the comments below. Give it a like, really helps the channel out. You can also find additional Stellaris Console Edition content on my channel. I have a Let's Play Stellaris Console Edition playthrough series, which is pretty much just my streamed games. I tend to stream this at least once per week, so check out the links in the description below where you'll find my Twitch channel. If you would like to come by the live stream sometime, you'll also find my Twitter feed. Great way to keep in touch with me and pay attention to any important upcoming news, like if I have to postpone or cancel a stream. And you'll also find a link to the Discord channel where we have several other Stellaris Console Edition players. You can ask questions there or get ideas of how to play, or even set up multiplayer matches with other people. We do have some players from both Xbox and PS4, so if you'd like to play with other people simultaneously, come on into the Discord. And as I said, check out A-Spec. I will be linking Your First 6 Years video in the comments below. I do recommend taking a look at that video as well. It's very helpful, and his channel in general has a lot of Stellaris information. There's just a ton of stuff on his channel where you can learn a lot more about Stellaris in general once you get a better handle on things. This video was essentially for beginners who have either just bought the game with either the Deluxe Edition or bought the game and then decided to sink the money into the Deluxe Edition upgrade and have either maybe played 1 or 2 games tops, but like I said, it's largely aimed to people who have pretty much never played Stellaris Console Edition before. So I hope it was helpful in giving you a leg up and an idea of what you need to do while you play this fantastic game. My name is Mobius Y. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again in the near future. Have a great night, everybody.